The conference finals are done, and it's time to take a look at the teams that lost in the conference finals, and both of those teams are in interesting spots. With the Knicks considering how they were viewed coming into the playoffs, them making the conference finals is an achievement in itself. But this series further heightens some issues they have, with one issue being Tom Thibodeau, and it's clear now they need to fire him. He's a coach that can raise a team's floor, but he's not a coach that can raise a team's ceiling. The Knicks offense always feels stagnant and not as dynamic as it should be despite the offensive talent they have. And Tibbs is really stubborn, which is clear in the Knicks lineups. Their starting lineup was terrible all playoffs and one of the worst, most used starting lineups of any team to make the conference finals since 2007. Yet Tibbs still rolled it out until the Knicks went down in the series 2-0 to the Pacers, and by then it was too little too late. He was doing this despite their best lineups involving Miles McBride and Mitchell Robinson, who should have replaced Josh Hart in the starting lineup. The Pacers were treating Hart as a non-threat, and you combine that with his non-aggressiveness, it made Hart a bad fit with the other starters. The Knicks have a roster made for an offensive-minded ceiling-raising coach, but they have a defensive-minded floor-raising coach that can't maximize the talent they have. Now, the roster is not perfect, and the reality might just be the Knicks may never be good enough to win a championship. They have two defensive liabilities in Brunson and Cat, and it got so bad in this series that they couldn't play a lot of minutes with Brunson and Cat on the floor at the same time. Cat in particular is so bad, him being your defensive anchor, at best you'll be an average defense. And while you can move him to the 4 and put a more traditional 5 next to him to cover his defensive limitations, that takes away some of his effectiveness offensively, because he cannot take advantage as much of slower footed centers like we saw when he played next to Rudy Gobert. And the Knicks don't have a lot of assets left to improve their bench unless they are willing to trade one of their top guys. That leaves them with hoping one or two of their young players can come in next season and immediately be an impactful playoff rotation role player, which is not likely. Now, before we get into the rest of the video, I would appreciate it if you could like the video, as it helps the video perform better in the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. With Minnesota coming into the playoffs, I did not expect for them to make the conference finals, but the fact they did is really impressive. But they just ran into the juggernaut that is the OKC Thunder. But this series did reveal a couple things. For one, it revealed that Mike Conley can no longer be a starting point guard. While his decline went under the radar this season, it was a big decline. And it somehow got even worse in the playoffs. Conley just can't score inside the arc anymore, and that's made him very reliant on his shooting from deep. And when that's not falling, he gives them nothing as a scorer. Defenses now dare him to beat them as a scorer like OKC has, and he can't. That diminishes the fact that he's still a good passer, but with Mike Conley still being a good passer and getting their offense set is why Minnesota still heavily relies on him, because this roster lacks guys that are good or even better at passing, which is another thing this series heightened even more. Outside of Conley and Ant, they don't have players you trust to consistently make the right passes. While Julius Randle has grown as a passer, he's still liable to fall into his bad passing habits, and with Minnesota's role players outside of basic passes, they are very liable to turn the ball over. That's why next season it's going to be huge that Rob Dillingham can step in and be the starting point guard and play at least at an average level. Because if Rob can do that with his passing ability on top of his shot creation ability and advantage creation ability, that can let Minnesota smoothly transition Mike Conley as the backup point guard, while also giving Ant a backcourt partner that can be next to him for the next 5 to 7 years. Also, I owe Julius Randle an apology, because in January I was calling for Minnesota to trade him and he shut me up. And he put to rest the narrative that the NBA community placed on him for being a playoff dropper. I appreciate you watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about Minnesota and the Knicks and how you feel about their situations. See y'all in the next one.